Hi, everyone. I'll be signing autographs after. It gives us great pleasure to welcome our keynote speaker, Carl Dixon. Not only is Carl a Canadian rock legend, but the mere fact that he's still alive is a miracle in itself. As lead singer of Coney Hatch, Carl toured with Iron Maiden and Judas Priest across North America. He later joined April Wine for 4 years and then was lead singer of the Guess Who for 8 years. Carl's life was changed forever in 2008 by a horrific head-on car accident in Australia. Stressed and emotionally impaired, Carl forgot that in Australia they drive on the other side. He suffered traumatic brain injury, 52 injuries in total, and was assessed as having 75% loss of ability. Yet he's rebuilt a music career, become a published author, and now an inspirational speaker. Here is his story.
Hello, everybody. Am I on? Is this thing on? Hello, hello. Okay.
Talk into it.
Talk into it.
Yeah.
No, I've got this weird little thing attached to me. Look out.
Sorry.
We're good. We're good. All right, everybody. I'm Carl Dixon. I'm so pleased to be here speaking with you today. Thank you. And for many of you who attended here today, you're aware that every day on this side of the grass is a good day. You come this close to death's door, and then you get another shot at it. Boy, oh boy. Lucky, lucky we are. I'm one of you, one of the club. I had a terrible, terrible accident that just about did for me, as they say in England. But I figured out a few things. I had a few squadrons of angels watching over me. And I'm back to doing what I do best and living my life. And the best part of my life, the longest part, and I guess it's the best part too, except for when I met my wife Helen from Australia. That's actually the best part. That's Helen in the camera. Wait till the best thing about Australia, I'll tell you that. They got to figure out this driving on the other side of the road thing. Anyway, I'm going to play a song for you to get things started and just set the tone, okay? Now here's where I speak into the mic, this time. So you weren't wrong.
Thank you.
And we have guitar. This is a song that I wrote about people having a hard time in all kinds of ways. The most beautiful thing we can do is think kind thoughts about them, for them, and do kind things. Have mercy on the people in the street. Help them find a way to get back on their feet. Have mercy on those who would be free. Free to work and home, living peacefully. Oh, have mercy. Have mercy on us all. Have mercy on us all. Have mercy on the downtrodden and the meek. Help them find their strength and a voice to speak. Give all your mercy to the woman and the man, trying hard to raise their child, doing the best they can. Oh, have mercy. Have mercy on us all. Have mercy on us all. Oh,
rescue gypsies in a search for our new home. Give me the wisdom to do all I can today to help tomorrow's children have a better place to play. Oh, mercy, have mercy on us all. Have mercy on us all. Have mercy, mercy on us all.
Thank you. Right, so switching to the secret lapel mic, calling in the Secret Service agents. I started as a musician when I was a little guy, 3 years old, and should I ever change the microphone position, fellas? Is it too close to my big mouth? We're good. I'm good. I'm good. I know that. All right, so yes, when I was 3 years old, I started playing the piano. And that's when my parents thought, we better sign this kid up for piano lessons. I was playing along with the national anthem. Some of us are old enough to remember when the TV stations shut down at night. And then the broadcast day would start at 7 the next morning, and they'd play a film of the national anthem and the flag flying. So I was playing along with O Canada. I lived up in Sault Ste. Marie. And so we got CBC from the Canadian side and CBS from Sheboygan, Valaket, Michigan. So that was the American anthem. So that was my beginning in music, playing along very patriotic little tunes by ear. And okay, should I do something about the sound level? I'm hearing some feedback ringing. Is it me? It's just the microphone. Okay, just a little further. Or closer. And the men who hold high places must be the ones to start to build a new reality closer to the heart. Okay, a little further from my heart actually is probably the best choice. Yes, piano, and I played along, but I was growing up in the 60s, and that's when all that great rock music was just coming onto the radio and the record shops of the Beatles and Creedence and the Guess Who and all the amazing rock bands, the Stones that were coming out at that time, the Who. So I'm playing Chopin's Nocturne and I'm thinking, this isn't as fun as that stuff I'm hearing on the radio. I want to stop doing the Kiwanis recitals and learn how to play guitar. So I threw a little wobbly tantrum until my parents let me quit piano and switch to guitar. Hated it. Hated guitar when I first started, because I got a cheapo hand-me-down guitar from my uncle. It was so hard to play, my little 10-year-old fingers. Couldn't press it down properly, but that's how I stuck with it for 6 months only, because there was a cute little girl named Wendy, also in the class with me. But she was an older girl, she was 11 years old. So I had no chance. But after that I began to play the drums. In high school I was in the parade, the marching band with the snare drum, learning all the rudiments, and then playing the big bass drum in the parades. Switched to the timpani and the multiple percussion instruments you can do when you're a percussionist. And that's the actual only instrument on paper certified to play is drums, because I got my grade 8 Royal Conservatory in, well, a long time ago. It was many years ago when I was in high school. And then, you know, at the same time as doing that, I decided, boy, I want to be in bands. I want to be playing this rock music. So some older guys, when I was 15, these old guys were 23, 25. One of them was even a teacher, and I thought that was really weird. But none of them could sing the Doobie Brothers. They needed someone who could sing high enough to sing the Doobie Brothers stuff. So I lied and said I remembered how to play guitar. And as soon as they gave me the job, I ran home and practiced like crazy for a week before the first gig. And that got me started. My first gig at 15 at the Craig Leith Ski Club over at Blue Mountain there. That got me started on the path to many peaks and valleys and ups and downs that go with, well, any life, but certainly a musician's life, a career in the arts, in any of the arts. You have those glorious peaks where it seems like you're on top, you figured this out, you're a success, everybody's going, yay, you! And then the cheering stops and, oh boy, okay. Next, what do we figure out to get back up to that peak? And certainly, it wasn't a clear sailing path. Not everybody thought that's what I should be spending my time on. My dad used to actively advocate for me to stop this nonsense. Why can't you be a dentist like your Uncle Bob? He sets his own hours, makes great money. Or you could be an oceanographer like your cousin John. He works out in San Diego and he gets to research seals and fish. Well, great, Dad, but you know, I don't know how I'm going to be in a band and still do that. The final thing he thought would scare me off was he said, look, you're going to wind up playing in strip bars, backing up strippers for $50 a week in spaghetti houses. And I'm thinking, I'm 18. Wow, $50 a week. Strippers? Spaghetti? I'm in. So, yeah, that did not discourage me at all. So yes, all through that time in high school and beyond, I was also a fanatical sports guy. I was on the track team and the soccer team, and I was doing weights in the gym because I wanted to be a big, strong guy. That's what I thought was also a good mission to be on. You know, a lot of young guys get into that. I gotta pump these weights so that girls will think I'm great. It kind of works, I guess, but you're never sure what it is that they're actually liking about you, except you just know you got to keep lifting those weights. So those were decisions I made at that early time in my life that made me stick with the idea of staying strong and fit, and never smoked a cigarette, never touched drugs, even through all those rock years. I went through, you know, the little teenage get drunk on the weekend phase and sort of smartened up after a while. So I dropped that too. So I was actually the paragon of health guy. So this band, whose emblem you see here, Coney Hatch, after a number of adventures of different bands and traveling around the countryside, they had an ad in the Toronto Star Classifieds. The classified ad section used to, I don't know if they still do, I haven't looked in a while, section 635, dramatic musical talent. And that's where you'd see ads for singer needed, for country act, touring the north, you know, tour coming up next week, or lounge piano player needed for a bar near the Islington subway station, or bass player needed for a rock band. Anyway, the ad I saw this day, because I was between bands, let's call it, and I saw an ad that said, singing guitar player needed for working rock band with management. Well, that sounds like me, and they're working, and they have management. Up to that point, I'd only been self-mismanaged. So having a manager involved surely had to be a ticket to the big time. And that was my goal, as it was for all of us in those days. Keep working, keep finding a way to get a record deal, because the record deal was, you get a record deal, you're up there in the Magic Kingdom with all those guys that make those magic records that you hear on the radio. You're just convinced that your life is going to be up a level. And in fact, it is in many ways, but it's never what you think it is, looking at it from the outside. So anyway, I joined the band, we started writing a bunch of songs, traveling all over the place, and everybody here know who Kim Mitchell is? Yeah. Okay. Well, I'd been in the band 2 months. They'd been going about a year before I joined. The first week I joined, we started writing songs together, and within a month, oh, there's my partner Andy with me back in, oh, that's 85, picture. There's the Elvis Giant Shadows photo. Anyway, we started writing songs right away, and within a couple of months, Kim Mitchell came out and saw us playing at the old Gasworks Rock Bar in Toronto. And that's when I first started coming to Ottawa too. The Barrymore's that was downtown, and oh, there was another place there, I can't remember. Out at the Chaudière on the Quebec side, and the British and Elmer, all those old rock bars. So yes, we ended up on a tour with Iron Maiden. Oh, Kim Mitchell, right. Kim Mitchell discovered us and said, I want to work with you guys. He helped produce some demos, he got us a record deal, he produced our first album. And before we knew it, we were off and running, touring with the big boys, playing NHL hockey rinks, making videos that were on MTV, hearing ourselves on the radio everywhere we went, selling records. It was a great time. And certainly that was quite a peak for young guys because none of us went to university. I did grade 13 and then thought, yeah, I'll take a year off and then go back to school. And never went back. I just kept finding more gigs instead. So that was like our university education, our college, where we learned all the things we needed to know to make a career in music, by being involved with a record company, by being on big tours, having management, being forced to learn how to write better songs and play better guitar and how to make a recording that sounds good. Because if any of you have tried making a recording at home, you just get started and you think, yeah, I think I played that really well, my song, and then you listen back, oh, I'm not going to play that for anybody else. It's a skill, it's a whole art in itself to learn how to make good recordings of music. So we learned all those skills, and it gave us the confidence to believe that we belong at that high level. Well, as young guys often do, we were butting heads because we were competing over who's going to be the singer, who's going to write the songs, all kinds of things. And so some disappointment. So we put all our eggs into the basket of our third album has to be a success. It wasn't the way the record company had expected it to be. So we moved on in different directions. I went through a whole bunch of different experiences learning how to be a musician. And that's the peaks and valleys, because there I was at this peak. I walked out kind of, I can do just as well without you guys. And slammed the door behind me, and then a few months later, oh, just kidding. Can I get back in? Well, you know, it doesn't work like that. So I spent several years trying to get the next record deal on my own, and it turned out I was right, but it took 8 years. So there was a lot of peaks and valleys in the meantime, starting with Carl Dixon bands, different bands that I was the leader of and basically telling everybody what to do. People don't thank you for that. I've heard. People don't thank you for telling them what to do. So yes, the significant thing that came out of all that, instead of getting a big record deal again, I got a publishing deal with a company in the States, in New York, called Alamo Irving. They were the music publishing division of A&M Records. We all remember them, I'm sure, with the great records they used to put out. Best thing that came out of that was I got a song placed on the Baywatch TV show. In fact, I'll play a little bit of it for you, because everybody at the record company was going, oh, this is exciting. This is like Def Leppard meets Aerosmith. And they were always looking for a comparison. Oh, it's like this other hit, so this should work. And of course, the scene, it's not one of the most memorable scenes, but then Baywatch wasn't classic television, I suppose. But it got me royalties paid from all over the world. And it's a scene actually where some perv is ogling Pamela Anderson through binoculars, hiding behind bushes as she walks down the beach. So, you know, I could have asked for a nicer bit of video to have my music stuck on with, but there was a little wild one standing at the back door, tangerine marmalade tossed from a candy store. Ooh, you set the wheels in motion, turning on a crazy notion. You gave me a taste of love. Ooh, a little late enough. Don't leave me standing at your door. A little taste of love. Anyway, that's kind of how it went, you know, that kind of rocky, big thing. So in the meantime, following that, because that didn't last forever, that was a great gig though. They sent me money in the mail every 2 weeks just for being a staff songwriter. And that was the first time I thought, yeah, okay, you can make money in this business pretty good, and you don't even have to go anywhere. You just have to go find other songwriters to work with, meet your quota. It's like turning in a certain number of songs per year to make your guarantee to get your paycheck. So that was pretty neat, an interesting experience. But I also learned the other rock bands that thought they were hot shit didn't like some songwriter coming in to help them write a hit. They thought they were just fine without me, so it didn't always work. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I thought that was a question. So that ran out. I started getting really concerned about, do I have a future in this business? And out of the blue, because all the contacts I'd made over the years, you know, one of them ended up being a guy who got the piano playing job in the Guess Who that kept going after Burton Cummings quit. So he called me one day and said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Waiting for you to call, pal. What do you got?" So he said, "We need somebody to replace Burton Cummings in the Guess Who to take the lead singer job, and I thought you'd be able to do it." So I said, "Hell yeah." So they sent me a tape of the live tracks to do an audition with the vocals removed from one of their live shows. And I submitted it, and they thought it was Burton playing a joke on them, because they thought it sounded so much like the records. But the thing is, as I said earlier, I grew up on those records. So that's kind of in me to sing like Burton Cummings anyway. So that turned into a really good thing that I kept going. Along the way, I spent 4 years playing with April Wine, and to my surprise, people are often more excited about that than anything else I've ever done. So I played keyboards and percussion and guitar, and I did all the high backing vocals that no one else in the band could do. Just between you and me, baby, our love will always be. You know, that's the part I had to do because no one else could hit it. That turned into a great experience. It solidified all my thoughts and ambitions about what I belong doing, because it put me again at a high level of performance and getting paid and doing great shows and big shows and a lot of attention. And my skills as a performer continue to develop. I will tell you one thing, and this can apply to a lot of fields of endeavor. When I was young and starting out as a musician and a performer, I was so worried that I had to be perfect. I could never make a mistake, or we're all dead. Oh, I blew that note, everyone's gonna hate us now. Oh, I played the wrong chord. Oh, no! And then, you know, you come off just beating yourself up at the end of the show, and people come back and say, "That was the greatest show I ever saw you guys do!" And you think, oh, I guess I really do have the wrong end of the stick on this. Because we're our own worst critics. We don't really see ourselves the way other people see us, especially if we beat ourselves up. And so negative self-talk is a very, very unhelpful thing to do. Focus, what I've learned to say to the guys I play with too is, let's focus on the stuff we got right tonight, because there was so much of that. Little bits here and there that we didn't quite do perfectly. Well, guess what? It's way better to go for being great than for being perfect. Because there's only one way to be perfect. And who even says that that's the best? But there's so many ways to be great. If you give yourself the permission to soar, give yourself the permission to just, yeah, I'm going to spread my wings and fly tonight. Not worry about what people are thinking, not afraid of being judged. I'm just going to let myself soar and do everything I feel like I can do and not be afraid. Fear holds us back from so many things that we could do and try. And how do we find out if we're great at something or even a little bit good at something that we'd like if we're too scared to try? So give ourselves permission to soar. That's a huge, huge thing that helps move in any part of life. So the Guess Who? I had a lot of fun playing that music. Yeah, we don't need the audio now. That's when I was with the Guess Who. That was a show in Las Vegas that we recorded. So I want everybody who's got 2 good legs, and I know there's a bunch of you, to stand up, stretch your legs. You've been sitting a good long time today listening to people talk, haven't you? And we're going to do one of those songs, and you're all in the band now, so you got to help me with clapping, stomping your feet if you can. First of all, big stretch. Up to the ceiling, get that air in your lungs, yeah, get the blood circulating. Ooh, yeah, now we're gonna get a beat going. There we go. Know the feeling deep inside, you can dance to the one. Find a corner where I can hide. Silent footsteps crowd me. Silent darkness, but I can see. No sugar tonight in my coffee. No sugar tonight in my tea. No sugar to stand beside me. No sugar to run with me. Da-do-da-da-da-do-da. Da-do-da-da. Dance actually. Waiting for me with her eyes. Now I'm falling from the skies. No sugar tonight in my coffee. No sugar tonight in my tea. No sugar to stand beside me. No sugar to ride with me. Big finish. That was great. All right, you have permission to sit down now. So, imagine being that guy, getting to sing those songs all over America and sometimes in Canada, every night. And that's what you're doing for your job. And then suddenly, it all comes crashing down in the space of about 2 seconds. Now we have a video that will tell you the summation of the story. This is triggering if anybody doesn't want to see a car wreck.
Ian rock singer Carl Dixon has spent the past 3 months in a Melbourne hospital after a head-on collision near Daylesford. He suffered devastating injuries in the crash, including losing his right eye, but soon hopes to be reunited with his family. Caroline Rondo with the story of true grit. There are words, I know there are.
This is all that's left of the vehicle Carl was driving when he strayed onto the wrong side of the road and into the path of a 4-wheel drive. The 49-year-old, who plays in the Canadian rock band The Guess Who, was in Melbourne with his daughter Lauren, who stars in the new series of The Saddle Club.
And I'm told that the ambulance drivers told the police officer that this guy has no hope.
Carl suffered multiple fractures, a brain injury, a lacerated liver and lost his right eye. But he's finally back on his feet. Doctors confident he'll eventually walk unaided.
In terms of his physical recovery, given the limitations with the weight bearing that we have, he's really progressed very well.
If all goes well, Carl hopes to be heading home in early August, but there's still a long way to go, with months of rehab ahead in Canada.
I love my home, and my kids are there, and my dogs are there, and I just can't wait to sit on my deck every day and watch the sun go by.
I didn't know the story, but I knew something was wrong, and the Guess Who guys said, Carl, you look like you're... I'd been to visit a couple of times and got a very bad feeling. They said, Carl, you have to go sort things out. We'll take a couple of weeks off from the band. You go do what you have to do. So there I was, Mr. Strap on the cape and solve everything. Going to Australia to save the family, and I was running out of time. I was supposed to get on a plane to join the band back in Biloxi, Mississippi the next day. And somehow I got lost coming out of Melbourne, Australia, and driving around the ring road that goes around that city. And it's fine when you're in another city or another country if they drive on the other side of the road, if you're in the middle of traffic and they all just lead you the right way. Oh yeah, follow everyone around me. But I was so upset, worried, distracted that I got myself in a state of what I had learned to call being emotionally impaired. There was no drink, no drugs, no cell phone, no texting, not even talking on the phone, but there was idiot, stupido, so, you're blowing it. I got lost. They already think I'm an idiot. This is going to make it even worse. I'm losing my chance to save the family. Little did I know. So I got myself in this total distracted state where I forgot they drive on the other side of the road there. I cut off the freeway on a country road, a 2-lane country road. There were no street lights, no other cars even to remind me to go on the correct side. So I just, how you sometimes drive 10 miles down a highway and you just think, what? I don't even remember, because you get off in these thoughts. Well, that's okay when you're driving in your home turf. But I ended up going down our Canadian side of the road, and it only took about 1 minute for some poor guy coming home in, I guess, a big Land Cruiser vehicle. I was in a little Toyota Corolla. And he met me at a curve. Neither one of us had time to see each other. Apparently, the police later reconstructed it and said he had about 2 seconds, I had maybe 1 second. I don't remember a thing about it to this day. But he had time to veer his car to try and get off to the shoulder without hitting me. He only had time to come up my hood and over my head. So that's why I'm missing a chunk of this arm today. But I still have all my teeth. I sacrificed my arm to save my teeth. Apparently, that's how it looks. So his undercarriage caught my head and snapped it back. I had a C7 fracture in my neck, wherever that is, in your back, spine, neck, wherever the C7 is. This arm was dislocated and torn to pieces, gouged. This arm was up here was nearly severed, and both my legs were mangled. This leg had just hanging on by a thread of bone, and internal injuries. My face was torn to pieces. My head took a massive blow right here, and it tore this side of my face apart. I'm all titanium here still to this day. Have a hole in my head where they drilled it because I swelled up the size of a basketball. And lacerated liver, collapsed lungs, a bruised duodenum. I still don't even know what the duodenum is to this day. I guess it's in here somewhere. But it was a full frontal assault of high-speed heavy metal. Heavy metal, 100%, that's ironic. Iron Maiden got me. No. But yes, it was just all crushed on top of me. Now here's where the squadron of angels watching over me comes in. There was a lady who followed me, and I later met her and she told me the story. She saw the accident happen and the other guy just sort of off in the ditch, and my vehicle spinning around until it came to a stop, just pointing the right way again, but the engine was now dead because it had dropped. That's the Toyota design, that I guess all cars now, the engine drops so it doesn't get driven into you and crush you completely. So she came along to see if I was okay, and I was such a mangled mess that she was just scared because I turned to her and said, "Please, you have to help me." I had no idea I was in total trauma. Next lady that came along about a minute later was a midwife. So she knew about keeping me breathing, talking to me, and then right after that, the most amazing thing, the captain of the local volunteer fire and rescue service was driving home with his daughter. She just had her paramedic graduation ceremony. So the two best people that could have turned up at that moment did. So he radioed in to the local fire and rescue center that he was the captain of, and they raced out there with their gear, their trucks, their jaws of life, their plasma packs, all the things that they needed to get someone out of that situation. The tricky bit was that Toyota, the model of car I had, now this is, I've just passed the 15-year anniversary since this happened. So, yay me, 15 years. I love that sound. I just milking it. Yeah, Toyota had just changed the chassis design with tensile steel. So the jaws of life the fire and rescue was equipped with wouldn't cut it. They couldn't cut through it. So I was an hour and 45 minutes in the wreck before they could get me free. Meantime, the air ambulance was called in, and when they finally got me out, we've seen photo stills, and there's video of the helicopter leaving with me. And I look like this little bundle of bones about this small because they're carrying me in a blanket, and I'm just, being held together. They lifted my feet with a belt because they couldn't touch anything. It was so hurt. So they got me out finally, and by this time I was long past consciousness, and my head was already beginning to swell. I was losing blood like crazy. And they got, yes, somebody who was there that night. They had the helicopter in the local cricket ground. That's the Aussie Rules football field, I believe. Anyway, somebody took this video and sent it to me later. And they got me into the air ambulance, and that's the occasion in which they said to each other, the people on the scene, well, no hope. This guy has no hope. He's a goner. There were so many injuries. I was losing so much blood. I was ripped to pieces from head to toe. So that's, after I came to from a coma after about 10 days. Oh, we're seeing that parade of caregivers. There's me with the nurses. They used to just like to come and hang out in my room. Okay, we're racing ahead of you here, kids. The medical people, the nurses, everybody, the police, the ambulance, the fire and rescue, all of them were the squadrons of angels, aside from any that might have been, from heaven, keeping me from being so, I was demolished. Everybody thought I shouldn't recover from this. And I can't really explain how I did very easily. And it was a mess when I woke up. But everybody in that line of command and care each gave me their very best. They gave me the best of their skills, their training, their hope and good wishes to just give me the best possible chance for survival, even though I was a total mess. I was like roadkill. It was ridiculous. When I learned later all the injuries I had and how bad it looked, I had 51 different injuries from that 2 seconds or so of impact. Now, just for example, when they brought me into the trauma unit, and I had 38 hours of surgery in 2 different sessions to put me back together, just enough to give me a chance. And after that, it was in the hands of God, as they say. So I was out for 10 days in a coma. And when I came to, I had no idea where I was, or what had happened, or how I got there, who were these people around me. And it was a shock to learn what had happened, but I also realized very quickly, okay, I'm in a fight here. I'm in very deep. And the first day, several weeks, I was having hallucinations, audio hallucinations. I thought there was a radio station playing at night in the trauma room they put me in. that was playing ridiculous music and people were having fights over the radio and that they were playing it at night when I was trying to sleep, and I was complaining to the nurses, how can you have a radio station playing in the patient's rooms when we're trying to sleep? And they were just looking, yeah, well, we'll look into it, you know. Just, it was, I would see a shadow and I would think it was a squirrel running up the wall, and just I was smashed. My brain was messed up, man. But I was able to piece together a scenario of, even though I'm so broken, I can't even turn on my side without the help of 2 nurses. I can't lift my arm. This was the only part of me unhurt, so I could still do left-handed stuff. The rest of me, I woke up with 8 drainage bottles attached to me. And I can't believe it still when I think about it. And it looked like they'd strapped a rump roast onto my leg, because they saved this leg with a bone graft. They moved half the calf muscle around to the front to give me a blood supply. Titanium through both these bones, titanium from hip to knee here, and as I say, titanium here, and a false eye that I got after some time. I was in such distress, they didn't even deal with the false eye, with the totaled eye that was hanging out. The captain said to me later, mate, when I met him later on, mate, your eyeball was hanging out in your cheek. Your face was half off. You were a mess. They just, you know, they tell it to you like it is in Australia. And so I had this, they didn't even deal with the eye for 3-4 weeks because there were so many other critical things that had to be done. So there I am thinking, well, you know, I think I can still see something. Maybe we can save it. No. So yeah, I can pop this out to let someone get the glass eye, I'm sure. I went to speak at a grade 6 class that my friend's a teacher of, and I was telling the story a bit, and so I said, would you like me to take it out? Show you? And all the little girls are going, ew, ew, and the boys are going, take it out, take it out. That's the difference between kids and that age. Well, that would be just showing off. The time I was in there, I learned a lot of things. One is about how good people are, and how much the nurses and the doctors and the caregivers at every level, the drivers, there were these wonderful drivers that would come and just tenderly take me in my wheelchair, take me to appointments at other hospitals and specialty places. The guy that came around and pushed me in the wheelchair around the hospital in the mornings. The guy that brought the mail and was always jolly. Even the bloody nurse that had to come and give me an injection every day to prevent blood clotting. I loved her too after a while. Although I kept trying to talk them out of it. And I actually lied a few times because I hated it so much. And then they caught on to my tricks after a few days. Because, you know, they'd give it right in your stomach there, and I just hated that. Anyway, I learned so much about how good those people are, how much they give of themselves, how much all of you give of yourselves in the care of patients, and the hope that you put in, and the meaning of every life and how important it is. At one point, when I was able to come out of the wheelchair, my trauma unit room in a wheelchair, and a nurse that had been attending the night I was brought in saw me down in the hallway by the coffee shop. She broke down weeping because she couldn't believe I was still alive. That's how much she cared. I encountered that continually. And so, as I say, I learned a lot of things. I learned the power of our own thoughts in a way I never had considered before. I knew how I carried myself through this world. I was always determined and I always had to be fit and ready and together and ready for that call from the coast whenever it might come or whatever the next opportunity is. You know, don't mess up, stay healthy, stay strong, be at the peak of your powers at all times, because that's just a better way to live anyway. But the doctors in Australia did say to me, the only reason I lived through that first night was because of the decisions I made as a young man. Never smoking, never touching drugs, hardly drinking, staying fit. I was playing hockey 3 times a week. I was swimming lengths when everybody else was looking for Scotch bars. running, 5, 10K out in the roads just because I liked it. And it felt good to be fit and strong. And I sang better, I played better, I could stand up to the travel better by making all those choices. So, what I never realized before was the power of our own thoughts and how much they influence our outcome. I had a friend, Pat Stapleton, the old Chicago Blackhawks player, who played for Team Canada as well. He became a mentor to me. And he was always about positivity and, choose good thoughts. If you have the choice, you can only hold one thought at a time, and if you make it a negative one, you're just sinking your own ship. So if we get stuck on negativity and, oh God, this will never work, oh poor me, oh this hurts so much, why even try, I have no hope. That's just a thought. There are physical limitations that we all experience. When we have brain injuries, and my God, I don't know how I escaped being worse off than I am with the brain injury. I still have impact from it sometimes. I get real headaches from the hole in my head when the air pressure changes in the atmosphere. And I still get dizzy and confused sometimes. Just 2 weeks ago, I had that attack where your ear salts, crystals, get displaced and you have to have the Epley maneuver. I hadn't had that since I was in hospital in Australia. And I was so dizzy, just 2 weeks ago, I was so dizzy I couldn't stand up I couldn't leave the room without leaning on the wall. And even then, I didn't want to. But you find the way forward, you entertain the better thoughts. Take out the thoughts that are hurting you. Plug in a stronger, more positive thought that benefits you. Who are you benefiting if you feel like there's no hope? Why try? I got nothing here. You don't know what the future can hold if you change that thought to something more powerful and helpful. Who among us grew up wanting to be thought of as weak? I don't know anyone that enjoys the idea of being perceived as weak. We all want to feel like we would rise and give the best of ourselves when the situation demands it. We have that choice. Our thoughts are the most powerful force in the universe. They're the most powerful force we have. So much can be changed, created, built up, helped by choosing a better, more positive thought each time you're tempted to dwell on the negative. And to go with that, something that just recently occurred to me, even though I've lived this way, you know how you can just get in the ways of doing things, but something causes you to identify it suddenly. I realized, in addition, the powerful thoughts, hope, and imagination, those are the most powerful we have as humans. We can have our intellect to whatever capacity remains to us after a brain injury or without having had one. But hope and imagination carry us forward into new possibilities, into new worlds, into creating things that have never been created before. And hope and imagination married to commitment, that's an unstoppable force. Because when you choose, you imagine something and you can hope for it, and then you choose to be committed to that, then all your decisions become easy once you have commitment. You're faced with a choice. Is this good for my commitment, or is it bad for my commitment? And if it's bad for your commitment, you simply don't do it. Commitment and goals make life and forward progress so much clearer. And then, we all know life isn't easy. Stuff comes at us every day, whether it's in our own world or terrible thoughts on the news or, the world's going to end in 50 years or 20 years, whatever. We don't know that. Anything can happen. In the meantime, we owe it to ourselves and to the society around us to make the best of ourselves that we can be, because we are all connected. We are a collective. One day at a time. Short-term goals, long-term goals, hope, imagination. and commitment. Now, a further thought that came out of my time recovering, I spent months in hospital in Australia, and I checked out way before they wanted me to, because I just couldn't stand being away from home anymore. And that was the worst day possibly of my life, when I got out of that safety bubble in the hospital where everybody loved me, everybody took care of me. I had my routines and the structures from the time I woke up till the time I fell asleep at night. Suddenly I'm out in the cold world again at the airport, trying to get out of Australia to fly home. And helpfully, they said, "Oh mate, you can't leave, your permit's expired." What? Well, that's a contradiction. My permit's expired, they should be saying, "Get out of here." No, you can't leave because your visitor visa has expired. What kind of sense does that make? So yeah, I was held up for ages at the desk before they finally let me go through to my flight. Well, I was already turning gray by that point with just complete energy drain. I couldn't cope with being outside the bubble of the hospital. So by the time I got on the plane, I was just melting into hopelessness of, my strength is all gone. I have nothing, no energy to cope. I just feel sick and ill. I can't even lift my hand. God bless Air New Zealand. They saw the state I was in. They said, "Oh, we can't allow this to happen." The stewards put me in one of those lovely first class seats where you can lie down and sleep as you go across the Pacific. So I'll always have a kind thought for Air New Zealand. Good guys. Anyway, well, at some point in my time in the hospital, I came, or the aftermath, start is a simple thought I came to, that we can kick in any time that we're faced with a setback, get our ass kicked, knocked flat on our back. And it stands for stop, think, accept, renew, and thank. 5 steps that can help us out of a crisis place, mental and a physical crisis place. Just stop cold. Don't just keep trying to blindly push forward if you just had a big smackdown. Whoa, okay, stop. Think. Analyze. What's happened here? What's left to me? What's gone? How am I placed now? Accept, once you've done your analysis, accept what the reality is. And don't lie to yourself, because where we get ourselves in trouble in any state of life is if we live in an illusion. The illusion that, no, I'm fine, I can still do that. Well, no, maybe you can't, but you do something else instead. And that's why it's so important to look at what you still have and accept what you've lost. And let go of any illusions of pretending that the reality is not the real. After that, renew. Summon up the energy, the power of your thoughts, put it to work to aid you to move forward from that place of acceptance and knowledge, self-knowledge. And finally, thank, because we do not. We do not succeed alone. We do not get out of a bad scene unaided. The people who care for us, the people who are paid and make it their vocation and their career to look after others. The society around us that collectively paid for hospitals to be built, medical clinics, ambulance services, all the social services that help us when we're down. Thank everyone, and thank them often, because we are just part of that collective, and we benefit from all those good things that other people have created for the good of us all. So that's what START is. There's much to learn in this life, and I know that many of you that are here today have suffered a brain injury of varying degrees and are still working through the toughest part of it. But I promise you, There's more for you than where you are right now. Put the power of your thoughts, the best thoughts you have, to work for yourself every day, and you'll lift yourself from where you are now. Give it time. Don't be impatient. Rome wasn't built in a day. We do not change things in a day. But if you pay attention, and even though it's bloody hard some days, my God, there were days I did not want to get in that wheelchair and go to therapy. I did not want to go to the office where they were doing the cognitive tests on me, because I just hurt too much, but I did. And I'll tell you this, what the Australian doctors said to me, they said I was the most motivated patient they'd ever seen. Now, I was thinking, whoa, what do you mean? Shouldn't everybody? The whole point of being in a hospital is you want to get out. You want to get well enough to go home, get the hell out of there. Hospitals are full of sick people, you know. But I said, you'd be surprised how many people just kind of give up. Yeah, they kind of like it here. Food service 3 times a day. It gets all quiet at night. Kind of cool. They let them go outside for a cigarette. I just couldn't believe it. But he said, well, more than one. But the doctor said, this is something we're glad we saw, and we're glad you went through our hospital, basically. Because, you know, the people that are looking after us injured people, they need their hope too. They're invested in us patients. We need to give them something. Make them feel like their effort is acknowledged and appreciated. Because that lifts, you lift each other if you're hurting and you give a little extra. Boy, it lifts both of you. It lifts everyone. It's very interesting because when I do these speaking appearances, I learn things, I say things every time that I've never thought of or said before. And meeting so many of you today, and hi Mike at home in Hawkesbury. You all are my therapy group. I'm still getting my thoughts together, my act together from what I went through. And I'm so grateful to all of you to have this opportunity to share what I've learned. And what I can, there are often times that I think, why the hell was I spared? Why did I live through that? It was the most improbable thing. Why am I still able to return to playing music? And I'm not kidding. I play and sing better now than I ever did before I was hurt. And the only explanation I can give, it doesn't make sense on the face of it. The only explanation I can give is that I learned from that not to hold back, but to be fully in the moment of whatever I do. Don't be scared. Somebody might laugh, somebody might judge me, or I might fail. Failing is, if self-perceived failure is how we learn, it's how we grow. So that, it's a gift. If you handle it the right way, it's a gift. It's an opportunity to learn about ourselves and what we have in us. And my God, we all have a lot in us. So don't be afraid to try. I'm Carl Dixon. Thank you very much for listening to my story. Thank you. Thank you. And now for the dance part of our program. Yes, there's a little concert. Any questions first before I go on? Is anybody feeling like I love answering questions, so don't be shy if there's something that popped up in your mind. What's that?
Everything that was the truth. Everything that you said was the truth and more.
Our friend here says everything I said was the truth and more. Well, I appreciate that judgment of my presentation. It wasn't a presentation, I was just talking. Anybody else got a question here? Yes?
You mentioned that you had a lot of positivity in when you were in the hospital with the doctors and the nurses and that. Did you have anyone who kind of looked at you and said, like, nothing's going to come out of this?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Very different from here.
I will tell you, and I learned this when I came home and had a stay in St. Michael's Hospital in Toronto. When I returned back, this leg re-broke, they had to put new titanium in it, etc., etc. I realized, boy, if you have to have a terrible accident, Australia's the place to do it. Well, I mean, I was kind of sad to leave.
We were faced with doctors telling us that at 6 months she would be 90% what she was going to accomplish. It took her 2 years before she started accomplishing things, including talking and eating again. Well, we're working on walking. But we found a lot of negativity, and when I'm listening to you talking about Australia, we never saw that. And there was one doctor who I considered her, she gave me the best answer when we were in ICU, and she was in a coma, and it was not looking good, and she said, we've seen bad brain injuries turn out.
So bad, and they don't turn out at all.
Yeah, and then not so bad that don't turn out. And she said, we have no idea what you're going to face, just that
They're just trying to get the normal option.
And
Yeah, well, look,
Normality.
some of them are in the business of running averages, right? You're not average. I'm not average. None of us is average. The average is the mean statistic based on collating everyone's results, and what you get isn't probably even any real person. It's just some number on a page. We are powerful, each of us. And if you run into negativity, move on to the next person. Because you do not need negativity dragging you down or pulling you off your mission. And we only have one mission, and that's to keep getting better, keep improving. There's no timetable. You don't know when you'll get there. You just keep doing the best you can, one foot in front of the other, and before you know it, you went from here to here, without even noticing. But my God, if we have the capacity to think at all, we can get further than we are right here today. And I don't know how many of you know Deutsch's book, The Brain's Way of Healing?
Yes.
Beautiful, brilliant book. I will tell you something that I did was craniosacral therapy since then. I couldn't believe it. I had unreleased traumas in me still years later. It was many years after the fact, maybe 10 years that I had it for the first time. And I like to say I got hit in the head by a flying car. Essentially, that's what happened. The car came up and went bang on the front of my head. This practitioner released such, just by the hands here and she feeling the energy, she released such a mountain of trauma from my head. I was wept. I couldn't believe this feeling of it being released and removed from my brain, my skull, all the containment, the nervous system that's in there, whatever contains those trauma memories, craniosacral therapy pulls it out. I was changed, another step improved following that. And you don't need to stop it once. You can keep getting it, because we get renewed traumas when we have an injury like that. And yes, the plasticity of the brain, one of his other concepts that he talks about in there. Your brain finds other pathways to do things even if you have a damaged area. If you persist, your brain will find new pathways to do the tasks. Yes, at the back there.
I'm just wondering how much music affected your rehabilitation.
Music was huge. Music was huge.
Inspired you, and then what came later on what you created, like how it changed.
Well, music was huge not only because it was my livelihood, but because it was my passion since I was a baby. My kindergarten report card said, Carl has a very strong sense of rhythm and a very nice singing voice. So, you know, the cards, the path was laid out for me early on. So it's how my molecules are wired, just that I put my whole life's direction into creating and performing music. So, kind of a funny story. My hand was totally mangled from this arm. Couldn't bend. I guess my hand was like that, and I had to get an occupational therapist working it every day with all his strength, a big guy, and make those fingers move at all. I still can't do proper clenched fist and all that kind of thing, and my wrist won't bend back all the way. But he got me started to the point that I got some Mac tack on my thumb and my finger, and the fattest guitar pick they make, and I was able to strum lightly after about 3-4 months in the hospital. So they had a music therapy office, and it was a lady who said, well, here, I'll work with you in music therapy. So I went, okay, well, I play guitar, and okay, well, so I played a bit, and she said, oh, you can play. Can you show me how to play Blackbird? So I said, well, I never could play it before, but let's see what we can do. So yeah, music therapy and the idea of music, plus a very powerful force pulling me forward, was the feeling, and this was, you know, the band I was in, they were all traumatized and shocked. I was the lead guy, I was the superhero frontman, and they all had this impression that our Superman has been shattered. Oh God, now what do we do? But they had to move forward, but I had this feeling, I can't let the guys down. So if you have that feeling that you're doing it for somebody else, you can't let other people down, boy, that's a far more powerful force than when we're doing it for ourselves only. So that was a big thing for me, just aside from the music, was my other partners in the music. And of course, you know, the unexpected result of all this, through paths crossing in Australia and all that, was I ended up with a beautiful wife from Australia. And, you know, everything was better since the day Helen came around. So yeah, that's you find love, you find meaning, you find a point at which to direct your energies, a meaningful one. Now somebody over here had a question, I believe. Yes.
Speaking about energy and craniosacral therapy, I think I need to play.
No, I can hear you.
Also, it's also for the recording of everything.
Oh, for the recording, yeah.
Craniosacral therapy, I had a severe catastrophic closed head injury in 1991, and craniosacral therapy is one of the things that pulled me through. There are two different approaches to cranial. I've studied both, the mechanical approach and the biodynamic approach. The biodynamic approach is out of this world, what it can do. When I first started to get that done on my body would move in ways that replicated the injury. We get trauma that's stored inside of us, and to release that, it doesn't come back. You don't have to sit and talk about stuff, oh, this happened and boo, boo, boo. Your body will let it go, and it's absolutely incredible. So for you to say that, I'm totally on the same page with you.
Great. Well, if you haven't tried it, as a way to help yourself, please try craniosacral therapy. I've had it done several times since, and to my surprise, I just had a recent episode where here's a typical story of when you're injured and things can continue to happen. I was playing on a cruise boat up in Muskoka. The guy was coming from, I don't see on this side because my eye was taken out. The guy was coming at high speed from this way, trying to get to the dressing room, and he plowed into me with his shoulder on my jaw, because I just took one step toward get my guitar. Bang! Like you're getting a knockout punch from a boxer. I went, oh, and I didn't go down, I give myself credit, but I had to, show must go on. I kind of put it aside, but oh, you know, that really hurt. Waiting for days. Just following a few days later, I went in and my craniosacral therapist said, well, actually she didn't say it, she was just really busy and just felt, and I could feel, you know, she was drawing the pain out of there and the trauma, this recently introduced trauma. And I felt, oh yeah, I forgot that even happened, but now I've recognized there was pain there and it's gone. So it's an amazing thing. I know it sounds like hocus pocus to some people, but I'm not telling you. She's a good thing.
It's following the rhythms of the body. If you
Yeah.
emotion hertz that are going, and that's what our bodies are like. So we just think of the heart rate and breathing rate, that's all that, you know, is palpable in the body, but there's so much more.
Yeah, there's waves all over the place.
And that's what these therapists are taught to learn to feel and help you find that inner strength and you have it.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, that's a beautiful description of it. I've just been on the receiving end and you know how good it felt and what a change it gave me. Beautiful. There was one other question, I think, over here. Oh. Well, you could giggle your way into the question.
What?
You can giggle your way into the question.
I just recently had, I guess it's 6 weeks now, since I had my second concussion. I'm having a hard time. You talked about journey. Like I find I'm having to go on 3 different kind of journeys. A personal journey with myself, personal journey with my husband, and a personal journey with my friends that maybe don't understand that I forget, I'm irritable. So you were talking about journey. Did you do a 3-step journey? Like, I don't know, you said you talked about journey.
Journey.
Journey
I said
with
that, did I?
Yeah, was that your journey?
No, that was a long time ago. Let me think. Well, I do know that one thing I discovered was, yeah, not everybody can keep up with you as you go through your stages.
Yeah.
Some people find it discouraging. They can't handle it. Maybe they'll return later. But to simplify, I found things that were no longer a good fit for me kind of started to fall away. And the ones that were a good fit stuck with me. Now, that's not saying, you know, your husband's a goner, but... if, you know...
He's going overboard.
Good. Well, that's the husband you want there. Yeah, stick with him.
We're in the intellectual domain, I guess.
Right. Well,
because I'm just almost finished my law certificate, and yeah, I always wanted to go. So I was, yeah, you can go to law anytime.
Yeah, so
it's like, oh well, are you sure you can go back and do that? But I mean,
look, you'll have a goal, you'll have a mission, it'll focus your thoughts. You might have headaches or days that you're wobbly, but a goal is the most important thing. Stick with it. Stick with it. Don't be discouraged.
Well, maybe the personal journey is the most important one, right?
Personal journey is what reinforces you to take on anything. Yeah. Okay, so you asked me about, oh yes, question over here.
Yeah. I wanted you to say something more about how your playing got better after your brain injury.
Yes.
And I say this because I was a professional musician. I've got university papers that says I can do this.
Well, you're certified.
But, and I've got, you know, a cowhide grand piano sitting in my living room that doesn't get touched. Because after all that time in rehab and the brain injury and all that stuff, what's basically happened is that my playing just went to shit. And so when that happens, the things that you used to be able to do, like you were saying, you know, could play backward or whatever. Yeah, once upon a time I was that guy. I could do that stuff. Put a piece of music down. Yeah, what do you want to do with it? Do you want a stage band arrangement? Do you want to just have a piano solo? What do you want to do? Now, it doesn't work.
Well,
and how did you find yourself playing better afterwards, and what motivated you to get back into playing?
let me make a suggestion based on that start idea I put out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if you're not accepting yet that you're not what you used to be, and you won't give yourself permission to be anything less than you used to be.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's really, I don't know about you, but it's really hard when it's something you used to be able to do so easily now is a struggle.
So it depends what's meaningful to you. If it's still meaningful to you, then there's some other blockage. I would just, I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV.
No, music is my therapy. Music is, whenever I needed to look after myself, you go play something.
Yeah. You might have to put in the basics just like when you were starting out as a kid, to go through the
Oh, I got my hand in the back out.
Yeah. I think you just have to be patient with yourself and give yourself permission to be not the same as you were before. There's a great song that none of you will know. by a group called Spooky Tooth. But there's a beautiful line that says, I'm not the same like I was before. I'm something less and something more. Those are words to live by. Because we all, no matter whether we got a bonk on the head or not, we're changing, and nothing is continuous, nothing stays the same forever. And if we can acknowledge that and accept the stages of life and what is called upon to do now with our current reality, not how it used to be, but the way it is now, and reset the what do you call that thing? Start over.
Yeah. It's a long way back to what you once were.
Well, that's what I accepted. I stopped trying to be that guy I was before, but somehow once I accepted that, you know, I couldn't run. I can't run anymore. I can't even hurry across the street to get out of the way of a speeding car. And that was something that meant everything to me for many years. So I had to accept that, and I had to accept I wasn't getting the return to that team after all. But guess who let me go? They had to move on without me because I wasn't ready in time. So I had to recognize that these things that meant so much to me, got to let them go, and that allowed me to sort of slip past on a different track from that track that I was so holding to, clinging to for so many years. So maybe I'm just suggesting maybe there's some level of acceptance that's for you that you haven't even realized yet.
But a lot of work to get your technique back again.
It's a lot of work. Nobody said it would be easy.
No.
It wasn't easy the first time through.
No, it wasn't.
Takes time, right, to build up. But I bet more, if you give yourself permission to go for it, it'll come back in ways that you don't even imagine right now.
We'll keep trying.
Good for you. I was supposed to do a little music concert here. Okay, let's talk more sing. Okay. All right, that works. Here's a song that I didn't write, but I think you'll be happy that I chose it. Sing it, babies. Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, I sing, it's alright.
since it's been here. Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. Did have a head injury, you know. Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. It's alright. It's alright. Yeah, nice song. You know, I want to say especially thank you to all of my fellow brain injury survivors and workers. We're all a work in progress still. The best is yet to come. This is a song I wrote when I made my first record after I was hurt, and people were saying, boy, you must have written a lot of great songs after what you went through. And I was thinking, did I? I don't know. So I thought I'd better come up with something that talks about it, all that stuff and what I've learned. So this is called The Point of This Life. And it's quite, well, it sums up everything I learned. Especially, look at all you still have and not what you've lost. There must be a guardian angel watching over me, 'cause the universe sure smacked me down, and it could have ended badly. I lay there bemused and bewildered from the shock of the fall, which turned to amazement as good people rallied to my distress call. All we are in this world is what we are to each other, and love is the reason we help one another. The point of this life is to get along, to make this world better before your time's gone. Think of all you still have and not what you lost. The point of this life is to get along and give it all you've got. Give it all you've got. We get sidetracked with high expectations and wrong-headed plans. We nod in agreement and just go along and give in to endless demands. So what is the sense we can make of all this as we shape-shift and stand on our heads? Make time for living, 'cause one day it'll come to an end. And the point of this life is to get along, to make this world better before your time's gone. Think of all you still have and not what you lost. The point of this life is to get along and give it all you've got. I'm not here to preach, it's just something I've learned and should tell. We all get our wake-ups, and yeah, it can really be hell. But when you're going through hell, don't stop there, keep going. Reach out to your people and take strength in knowing that the point of this life is to get along, to make things a little better before the time's gone. Think of all you still have and not what you lost. The point of this life is to get along. The point, my friend, is to get along and give it all you've got. life. Give it all you've got.
Thanks, thank you. Well, I'm going to finish on a lively note, I think, here, because I know some of you are busting to get home or busting to get to the lube. And one song, I actually, as things progress, oh, by the way, before I do anything else, thank you to all of you who are caregivers and nurses and doctors and therapists and all of you who put your spirit and time into looking after us poor buggers. This is a song that I wrote, and it's just come out as a single for my new group, Coney Hatch. My old group, Coney Hatch. It's a new single for my old group. We've been going since, as you see, since Christ was a cowboy. Yeah, we just played in Sweden on last Friday, and just back from there. And Helen and I had a couple of great days in Copenhagen on the way home. So what a place. This is called "It's About a Girl," because everything comes back to, especially for us guys, about everything we do is to impress a girl or to get a girl's attention or to show a girl we love her. Whether it be our mothers, our lovers, our sisters, our wives, the nun in the charge of the classroom. If you find you're acting very strange, people giving you that funny look, there's a reason for the sudden change. Poison nature has you on the hook. No need for an investigation. There's a very simple explanation, and it's true that we do what we do without any clue. It's about a girl. It's always about a girl. If you're living in this world, it's always about a girl. It's about a girl. Going days with hardly any sleep, doing stupid things to get attention, making promises you couldn't keep. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. Start embellishing your history, cultivate an air of mystery. If a man is beating on his chest, somewhere a girl is gonna be impressed. And it's true that we do what we do without any clue. It's about a girl. It's always about a girl. You all know it by now, right? If you're living in this world, it's always about a girl. It's about a girl. Think you found yourself a true believer. Now you're rocking with the high achievers. Till one day she says, "You foolish man, what about this don't you understand?" And it's true that we do what we do without any clue. It's about a girl. It's always about a girl. If you're living in this world, it's always about a girl. Ow! It's about a girl. So living in this world. Oh, what a girl. Like that. We're just wrapping up the video for that. Helen's finishing making a video for it. It should be out in the next week. So, listen, I'm Carl Dixon, and it's been such a privilege and a joy to be here with you all today. And all of you who are in the midst of your recovering from a brain injury, a bump on the head, whatever you want to call it, you're all beautiful and you're all going to get there, okay? Love to all of you.
Once again, thank you, Carl. That was awesome, inspiring, and amazing. What a great way to end the day. I'd like to call Karen up for some closing remarks before we all head off.
Sure can.
There we go. I'm a survivor. Let me again, at this closing instance, thank you all for having joined us on this 12th Brain Injury Awareness Day. Your active and dynamic participation has made this such a successful event. We are grateful to each and every one of you. Please let me conclude with some sincere words of thanks. Our thanks go to the St. Elias Center, such a great venue for this wonderful event. We thank you all our wonderful speakers, to all our sponsors, to the exhibitors who brought outstanding services and supports, to Sean and Carl for sharing their stories. Thank you. And we thank the catering crew. And last but not least, a big thank you goes to the organizers, Tana Kaczynski and Trish Watts, somewhere back there, Lynn Coyne, Bianca Coslin, and Dennis Boileau of Vista Center Brain Injury Services, Tammy Kyle, a board member of Vista Center Brain Injury Services, and our Champlain ABI System Navigator, Connie Coburn. I hope that you've enjoyed this invaluable day, and we wish you a safe trip home. We hope to see you all next year at our 13th Brain Injury Awareness event in 2024. Thank you very much once again for coming.